Have you ever wondered how a conflict that began over 70 years ago still burns fiercely today? A question that takes us to the heart of the Middle East, to a land steeped in history and contention, Israel and Palestine. A conflict that erupted in the mid-20th century, a fire that refuses to be extinguished. A story that has been written with the ink of religious fervor, political ambition, and territorial disputes. This is a tale that has transcended generations, a narrative that continues to unfold today, a saga etched deep into the annals of history. It's a labyrinth of complexities, a web woven with threads of faith, power, and land. A puzzle that has confounded politicians, diplomats, and peacemakers alike. The religious, political, and territorial elements of this conflict are intricately intertwined, creating a Gordian knot that's yet to be untangled. To truly understand the Israel-Palestine conflict, we must journey back to its origins. Our journey begins in the late 19th century with the birth of Zionism. Zionism, a nationalist movement, emerged among Jewish communities in Europe. The goal? To establish a homeland for Jews in Palestine, the historical land of Israel. This dream was fueled by centuries of Jewish diaspora and the rising tide of anti-Semitism across Europe. The movement picked up momentum, leading to a significant increase in Jewish immigration to Palestine. Yet, this was not a land without people for a people without land, as the Zionist slogan claimed. Palestine was already home to a majority Arab population, living in harmony with a small indigenous Jewish community. The influx of Jewish immigrants, however, started to shift this demographic balance. Jewish settlers bought land, often from absentee Arab landlords, leading to the displacement of the existing Arab peasantry. This triggered tensions between the incoming Jewish population and the local Arab residents. Then came the Balfour Declaration in 1917. Arthur Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary, penned a letter promising the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This was a pivotal moment that internationalized the conflict. It was not just a local struggle anymore, but a geopolitical chess game involving the world's powers. With the end of World War I, Britain took control of Palestine under the League of Nations mandate system. The British mandate was a complex and challenging period marked by contradictory promises to both Jews and Arabs. This paradoxical policy only served to escalate the conflict. Jewish immigration continued under the mandate, further intensifying the demographic pressure. In the meantime, the Arab population resisted what they saw as an erosion of their national rights. The result was an increasing cycle of violence, marked by strikes, riots, and reprisals. The British, caught in the middle, struggled to maintain control. As World War II ended, the stage was set for a dramatic shift. The horrors of the Holocaust intensified global sympathy for the Jewish plight, leading to a surge in support for a Jewish state. As we'll see in the next scene, the aftermath of the war would profoundly reshape the landscape of the Middle East. 1947 marked a year of seismic change in the region. As the world emerged from the ashes of the Second World War, the United Nations took on the Herculean task of addressing the Jewish refugee crisis. Thousands of Jewish people, survivors of the Holocaust, were displaced, seeking a homeland. The solution? The creation of the State of Israel. The UN proposed the Partition Plan in November of 1947, a blueprint that proposed the division of British Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem under international administration. The Jewish community accepted this plan, while the Arab nations surrounding Palestine rejected it. The year 1948 brought the inevitable, a war. As the British mandate over Palestine expired, the Jewish Agency declared the establishment of the State of Israel. This triggered the First Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence for Israelis or Nakba, meaning catastrophe for Palestinians. The aftermath was a mixed bag of triumph and tragedy. Israel emerged victorious, expanding its territories beyond the proposed partition plan. Yet, for the Palestinians, it was a time of profound loss. The war led to the displacement of around 700,000 Palestinians, either fleeing the conflict or expelled from their homes. This displacement, the Nakba, was not just about losing homes, it was about losing a homeland, about the rupture of communities and the scattering of families. It was a wound that has yet to heal, a memory that continues to echo in the collective consciousness of the Palestinian people. The birth of Israel, a beacon of hope for many Jewish people, was a cataclysmic event for the Palestinians. The joy of one nation's birth was the sorrow of another's displacement. This dual narrative, this intertwining of jubilation and despair, set in motion a series of wars and conflicts that continue to this day. The birth of Israel was not just the birth of a nation, but the genesis of a conflict that remains unresolved. The following decades were marred by war and bloodshed. A series of conflicts, uprisings, and wars have punctuated the timeline of Israel and Palestine since the birth of the Israeli nation in 1948. The first of these, the Arab-Israeli War, or the War of Independence as it's known in Israel, was a direct result of the creation of the State of Israel. It saw neighboring Arab states launching an attack on the fledgling nation. This war saw significant loss of life and displacement of people on both sides, setting the stage for a protracted conflict. Then came the Suez Crisis in 1956, a war that involved not just Israel and its neighbors, but also international powers like Britain and France. It was a conflict that further deepened the divide, hardening positions on both sides of the Israeli-Palestinian divide. The 1967 Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War of 1973 were significant flashpoints, altering the geographical and political landscape of the region. Both wars resulted in territorial gains for Israel, but they also stoked resentment and resistance among Palestinians, leading to the First Intifada, or uprising, in 1987. The First and Second Intifadas, in 1987 and 2000 respectively, were marked by widespread protests, strikes, and violent confrontations. The death toll was high on both sides, but the impact was more than just physical. The Intifadas also had a profound psychological impact, deepening the sense of mistrust and hostility between Israelis and Palestinians. The 2000s and 2010s saw a series of armed conflicts in Gaza, further escalating the animosity and suffering. These wars have caused immense human suffering, with countless lives lost, families displaced, and communities torn apart. Political instability has been a constant companion of these conflicts, with peace deals brokered and then broken, leaders rising and falling, and the hopes of ordinary people continuously dashed. While peace deals have been attempted, a lasting resolution remains elusive. The decades of strife have left deep wounds, and the quest for a lasting peace continues to be a challenging endeavor. Today, the conflict remains as complex and heated as ever. In the current landscape, the Israel-Palestine conflict continues to simmer, with no definitive solution in sight. The situation is an intricate web of politics, religion, and a shared history steeped in blood and tears. The ongoing settlements, for instance, are a bone of contention that keeps the tension high. Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, areas deemed to be Palestinian territories by international law, have stoked the flames of discord. This contentious issue is a significant roadblock to the peace process, a hurdle that both sides have yet to overcome. The status of Jerusalem is another complex piece of the puzzle. Both Israelis and Palestinians consider Jerusalem to be their capital. The city, with its deep historical and religious significance, is a focal point of the conflict. The decision of several countries to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital has only deepened the divide, making the prospect of a two-state solution seem even more elusive. International politics also play a significant role in this conflict. The world is divided, with different nations backing different sides, further complicating the situation. The involvement of superpowers and influential international organizations has often exacerbated the issue, rather than paving the way towards a resolution. But amid these political and territorial disputes, it's all too easy to forget the human cost of the conflict. Lives have been lost on both sides, families torn apart, and generations raised in an atmosphere of fear and hostility. The daily struggle of the people caught in this conflict is a testament to human resilience in the face of adversity. Yet it also highlights the stubbornness of humanity, our refusal to let go of deep-seated grudges, our inability to see beyond our narrow perspectives. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a painful reminder of the human capacity for both endurance and intransigence. It underscores the urgent need for empathy, understanding, and above all, peace. As the struggle continues, humanity shines its light in the darkest corners. Amid the chaos and the conflict, there are moments of hope and unity that remind us of our shared humanity. Take, for instance, a recent incident that took place in the heart of Jerusalem. Amid a protest, a Jewish man and a Muslim man found themselves face to face. Instead of hostility, they met each other's gaze with understanding. The Jewish man, a settler from one of the disputed territories, and the Muslim man, a Palestinian born and raised in East Jerusalem, could have been bitter enemies. But in that moment, they chose a different path. They embraced in a hug, a simple yet powerful gesture that spoke volumes. It was a moment of shared humanity that shattered the barriers of religion and politics, if only for a brief moment. This moment was captured and shared across social media platforms, becoming a beacon of hope for many. It served as a potent reminder that, at the end of the day, we are all human, capable of empathy, understanding, and compassion. Despite the deep-seated issues that fuel the Israel-Palestine conflict, this moment of unity shows us that peace is possible, that there's hope for a better future. It exemplifies the power of individual actions in bridging divides and fostering understanding. This moment, though fleeting, gives us a glimpse of the potential for peace and unity in a region long plagued by conflict. The path to peace is fraught with challenges, but not insurmountable. As we look to the road ahead, it's important to consider the potential solutions that have been suggested. Among these, the two-state solution stands tall, proposing separate nations for Israelis and Palestinians coexisting in harmony. An alternative, the one-state solution, envisions a single, inclusive nation that respects and upholds the rights of all its inhabitants. But solutions alone won't suffice. A just and equitable resolution that respects not only the territorial rights, but also the aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians is imperative. It's about acknowledging the deep-seated historical narratives, the cultural identities, the human lives that form the core of this conflict. The journey towards peace is complex, demanding not just political will and diplomatic skill, but also a deep-seated commitment to understanding its intricate history. The resolution of the Israel-Palestine conflict requires not just political will, but also a commitment to understanding its complex history.